Hi, welcome to Realize Your Art Garden Studio. I'm Denise, and I'm going to take you through two things today. The very first thing is to give you an overview of the channel and what it can do for you. And then the second thing is I'm going to take you on a little bit of a tour, and it's going to be a tour of both the greenhouse and the hoop house that we are going to be using for protected gardening this year and moving forward. Okay, now I want to talk to you about the channel. You know, the Realize Your Art Garden Studio channel, giving you the reason of why do you want to subscribe? Why do you even want to follow this channel? And is it for you? Okay, so let's do this quick checklist. Do you grow anything? Yes. Do you want it to be more productive? Yes. Do you want to be able to extend your season either on the front end or the back end of your growing season? Yes. If you actually answered yes to any of those questions, this actually is a channel for you. And the reason is that what our focus is going to be on protected gardening. And so what that means is that we are going to look into very closely the different types of structures and different types of items that you can use to help enhance or extend your current growing season. So for example, a greenhouse or a hoop house actually allows you to grow farther into the season or start earlier into the season. Using garden cover or garden fabric allows you to put different vegetables, different flowers out into your garden, and you can start earlier. So we're going to look at those different techniques. The other thing that we're going to be doing, kind of more of a scientific-y kind of experiments, not with chemicals or anything like that, but I also want to look at, is there a benefit of a greenhouse versus an unheated hoop house? Or is there a benefit to even having both of them, and how and why would you use either one of them? So we're going to be looking at that. We're going to be looking at the timing on it, different types of vegetables, flowers, etc., that can work within those types of structures and how we can improve them. And of course, we want to start that conversation. We want to start a community that talks about protected gardening. And with protected gardening, there is no zone. It doesn't matter if you're in the United States, you're in the Philippines, you're in China, you're in India. Everybody uses some form of protective gardening. And what's good and why it's important to get the community together is that you can share, you can learn. It may not be exactly the same of what we're going to do in a zone 10 versus a zone 3 or 4, but how we do it and how we think about it in terms of the protection of our plants, the protection of our garden is the same. And you'll see that as we go along. So that's what that channel's about. So again, if you answered yes to those questions, come on along. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and see if it makes sense to you. But I think we're going to have a little fun. I think it's going to be a great community, and I look forward with working with you on it. Okay, let's get this party started. It's time for the tours. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to go on two tours today. One is of the greenhouse, which is a home-based greenhouse. It's actually attached to our existing structure. And then the second thing that you're going to go visit is the hoop house. And the hoop house is newly made. It's a temporary structure that has been put over our raised gardens. And we're going to take a look at the structure, and we're going to take a look at the crops that are growing inside. And I'll tell you something. Some of the crops are doing good. Other ones, I think, may not make it for another couple weeks. But that's okay. That's part of the experiment. Later on in other videos, I will go ahead and show you the comparison where I'm doing the same crop in both the greenhouse and the hoop house, and we'll kind of do that comparison. But that's for later on. Okay, so let's get on. Let's go get our shoes on and get the cats in gear because they're also ready to start the tour. Let's go. We've had this greenhouse for about 8 years, maybe even a little bit more now. What it is it's an extension onto our existing structure. It has 2 walls of glass made out of patio doors, 8 to 10 foot patio doors, and then the whole ceiling is glass. It does have forms of ventilation through the door, through an up top window, and an up top fan that's regulated by a thermostat. We heat it in the winter with electric oil heaters that are also on a thermostat. We keep it at about, on the very, very cold months. And again, remember, I'm in a zone 5, Midwest, Chicagoland area. We can keep it about 55 to low 60s in the very, very super cold months. And when it is starting to get really sunny out, and both in the beginning of the season and the end of the season, I call my greenhouse season, it does get quite warm in here. If the sun's on here, if everything is closed up, it can get upwards of 100 degrees in here. So it is very important that we keep the ventilation and the circulation going so it doesn't harm the plants or cause too much humidity in here. And you'll see some of that. We'll be dealing with it later on this season as it starts getting warmer or starts getting a little crazy in here. The other thing that we'll be doing is the hoop house. And I keep pointing that way because we will be going down to see the hoop house. And in the hoop house, again, it is unheated. It's covered by 6mm plastic. And it's a temporary structure. Okay, let's take that walk down to the hoop house. Not too far. It's actually a beautiful day. So let's get going and let's get that door open to the hoop house so you can see the inside. We're in the hoop house today and taking a look around to see what plants I have in the garden and seeing how my garden is growing right now. Okay, let's take a look. Here's our green lettuce, our red lettuce. A little disappointed in the red lettuce right now. I'm hoping it's going to catch up when it's cooler. Here's the Chinese cabbage, or minuet. Our arugula, which is doing fabulous. Turnips, which are doing well. Spinach, not so well. Carrots are just starting to come up. I have some transplants of celery, which are doing fabulous. Trying a cucumber. We have our radishes, which is a successful crop for anyone. Hopefully most people like to eat them. And then we have sugar snap peas, which I've done 2 plantings, one about 3 weeks ago and then another one about a week ago, and they're coming up just fine. And then finally I have the Detroit red beets, all of which are doing fairly well. As I mentioned when I was in the greenhouse, the other thing that I want to be able to look at this year is doing a comparison between how I can grow in the hoop house and start seeds and propagate in the hoop house versus how I can do it in the greenhouse. And again, temperatures are very different. The greenhouse is heated. It stays in the very cold months, stays around 55, 8, up to the low 60s. And down here, it's going to, depending on how I get all the coverage on it, it's going to say somewhere between 10 and 20 degrees warmer than outside with just a fabric covering. If I do low hoops, I can probably get it to 20 to 30 degrees difference in the outside ambient temperature. But that's what I'm going to try to do, is do a comparison. I'm going to have you guys walk along with me and see where I'm successful. I said, I'm sure I'm going to have some wins. I know I'm going to have some losses, but I think we all can learn as we go along. That concludes our tours. I hope you enjoyed it. I wanted to at least give you a sneak peek into what the greenhouse will look like, what the hoop house looked like, and some of the crops that I have growing there, and then get a little bit of an idea of what we're trying to do in terms of comparing and looking at how protected gardening can actually extend your growing period or improve your growing for the next season or the current season. So with that, if you liked today, please give a thumbs up to the video below. If you want to continue and become part of this community so that we can learn, work, and share together, please hit the subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you at the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.